Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and I thought I would do a video on flashlight reflectors. And so what I did was I created like a little diagram so you can understand a little bit about what people are talking about when they're referencing different parts of the beam of a flashlight. So this part here is called the hot spot, and this is where most of the light is. And you can see that there are hot spots on all four types of these emitters. The other part is called the spill, and it's this part here, this sort of like hazy corona. Now, obviously, these are inverted, so the dark spot here with the pencil lead is actually the bright spot in a flashlight beam. So the dark spot here would be a light spot on the flashlight, and that's called the hot spot. This hazier part around it, this little corona of light, that's called the spill. And so what I want to talk about is the different kinds of emitters, the different kinds of reflectors, and how those all interact. So the thing that got me thinking about this is I got this light in for review, and this is the MX3F from 4.7s. This is similar to the MXS, which is on my desk and is waiting for a very long review. It is a very complex light, and it is different than a lot of lights for a bunch of different reasons that I'll get into in the review. But this light is not as complex. This is basically just a straightforward, like, you know, non-pocketable, high-powered, long-throw flashlight. It runs on a 27, what is it? Which one is it? It runs on the battery that's just the one size up from the 2665, one size up from the 18650. It is a big battery, and this is a big light. You probably can't put that battery in a normal 2L, 1-well, 2L, or 4-well charger. But the reason why this got me thinking about beams is because it has a diffuser on it. This optic here is a TIR optic, which I'll get to in a second. And it has this stippled pattern that really just breaks up the beam. So instead of getting what you would get with a mule, which is the term for a light without a reflector, you get just the beam, or a smooth reflector where you get a little bit of a corona, or an orange peel where you get a lot of corona, you get mostly corona with a very kind of muddy center. I could show you, I mean, let's see how it works. I mean, it's just gonna, so there you go. That's the light on low, and as you can see, there's basically no hot spot. It's just this diffuse beam pattern, which is not bad. And it has a very specific purpose. There's a reason why you do that. So that one is this is what you're gonna get here. In a diffuser, you're gonna get this sort of really diffuse, muddy hot spot, and a very large, very pronounced spill corona. If you go backwards on this little chart, because this is from the most precise beam to the least precise beam, going around counterclockwise. If you go clockwise, you go up to something like an orange peel emitter, and an orange peel emitter or a reflector looks like this. This is the Zebralight SC5 2 limited edition, and as you can see, the metal interior, that little metal dish, that's the reflector. The little interior texture on the metal dish looks like the outside of an orange peel. And so that's why this is called an orange peel reflector. And that produces, let's see if we can do this. That produces a little bit tighter hot spot, but still a lot of that corona, that little, the little spill that I'm talking about. And then the next one is something like this. This is the titanium 4.7's Mark III, 4.7's Mini Mark III Turbo. And as you can see, there's no texturing on the inside of this light. This reflector has no texturing whatsoever. And so what you get is you get a pretty darn tight hot spot. There is a little bit of a corona, a little bit of spill here. It's not quite a mule, but it's a really tight hot spot. Now, one thing I will tell you is doing a smooth emitter is much more difficult, because if you do the smooth emitter wrong, you'll get some really serious artifacts where it will look like something's going on in the flashlight, and you don't want to have that happen. And so most people opt for the diffuser or the orange peel because a smooth reflector is really hard to do well. But this is a really nice flashlight, and 4.7 is a good company, and so they did a good job on the reflector here. And as you can see, it produces a nice little tight beam pattern. So that's a good thing. Now, I don't have an example of a mule because I really don't like mules, and that gets me to my second point about reflectors. The point of a reflector is to give you it does a lot of things. But the main benefit for me is that by having a hot spot and a bit of a corona, you're actually getting really two things at once. You can use this hot spot to shoot things really far away. So at the limit of your flashlight's range, you'll be able to still illuminate things if you put them in the middle where the hot spot is. The corona or the spill, that gives you the ability to illuminate something without blowing out your vision. So for example, if I'm working like really close, like let's say I'm like right here and I wanted to like, let me see if I can do this a little differently. So if I'm looking right at the hot spot, it's gonna make it hard for my eyes because it's just too bright. But if I'm like over here, I can do things like I could go and, like work on, like a small pin over here on this guy. So I could hold the light over here and it gives me enough illumination. Now, if I move it over there, it's just gonna blow my vision out because it's too bright. I put this on medium so that it doesn't make my camera go crazy. But let me give you an example of what it would look like in high. I mean, that's just too much. It's too much light to make it useful. But over there, if I move the hot spot, I can still work here. I have illumination, but it's not so bright that it blows everything out. And that's why I think it's really helpful to have a light with some kind of reflector or optic. And that brings me to the second thing. All the lights that I've shown you now, except for this one, have reflectors. This light and this light, they don't have reflectors, they have optics. As you can see, there's no smooth silver dish inside the head of this light. And this light is the Torch Labs Boss 35. Instead, what they do is they use some high-end computers and very sophisticated optics formulas to create a reflective optic so that the light is actually collected, bounced out, and then bounced back out by the shape of these lenses or these little bubbles. They look like little bubbles when you take the head off. This little bubble. These bubbles are, precisely created, precisely measured, and precisely completed so that they don't have any artifacts or hot spots or weird little rings in them. But the end result is that you get a light where you can really create whatever beam pattern you want, and you're not dependent on the shape or the texture of that reflective dish. So the other benefit of a TIR optic is that the TIR optics tend to be less deep. Like the optic on this light it actually ends like right here. Whereas the optic on this light goes all the way down to here because the reflector has to be deeper than the optic here on a TIR. This stands for total internal reflection, and it's the same principle that makes the bottom side of the top of water reflective. So if you've ever been like in a pool or a lake and you've looked up, sometimes you can see through the water, but other times it just looks like a mirror. And that principle is the same principle that they use to create these optics on flashlights. And like I said, the big benefit for lots and lots of people is because you can get them to do anything from basically smooth, from mule to smooth to orange peel. You don't have to worry about manufacturing the reflector, which is pretty difficult. You also don't have to worry about as much space. The TIR optics are flatter and they take up less space. So it's a way to make a shorter flashlight do a bunch of different things. Now, I will tell you that my preference is for an actual reflector because as good as the TIR optics are, I still think that there is a benefit in having an actual reflector. I don't think that TIR optics produce as good a beam pattern as you would get out of a reflector. And the reason why is because in my opinion, and I think that this is borne out by the science, though I'm not an optics person, so I would default to anybody who was, the TIR optic just tends to produce like a squashy beam pattern. And what I mean by that is that it looks good close, but as soon as you get a little bit further away from the optimal distance, it just sort of falls apart. So that you could have like a flashlight like this with an actual reflector, and it'll still light up a stop sign, even if the stop sign is well beyond its optimal range. Whereas the TIR optic, you are basically, once you pass that optimal range, you're getting nothing. And so I think that I like the size that a TIR optic can give you, but I like the beam pattern that you get with a real reflector. So talked a lot about reflectors. I'm sure the question is, what light has the best beam pattern and best reflector? And if you follow the channel at all, if you've read anything on the blog, you know what this is. This is the light that has the best beam pattern I have ever seen by a large margin. And this light is the McGizmo Haiku. The reflector was a custom reflector designed by Don McLeish. It has an orange peel inside. It has a sapphire lens. The lens has anti-reflective coating both on the front and the back, so that the amount of light out the front from the amount of light from the emitter and the amount of light out the front are really, really close. You usually lose between like 10 and 4% of the light going out the reflector because of bounce back. But by putting the anti-reflective coating on, you don't have to worry about this. This light is an absolute jewel of a light. This is one of my very favorite lights. It's probably my oldest piece of EDC gear. And I've had this light forever. For a long time, I just ran it on the normal 3-speed that it came with, the emitter pill. Let me show you. So the emitter pill is the little, this thing right here. And you can take this out. You can just unscrew it. I ran the original for probably 15 years, 10 years, maybe 12 years, something like that. And then a very kind reader developed a 4-speed drop-in. So I could just unscrew the original, put the new pill in, and screw the new emitter pill in. It did not alter the reflector at all. And now this light is once again restored to state-of-the-art performance. We're getting, I think, like really, really low. I mean, just super duper low. I mean, that's the low. The low is just super duper duper low. And then the high is around 1,000 lumens. So fantastic light, fantastic emitter, fantastic reflector, really great design. This is produces the best beam pattern on the planet. Let me see if I can get it. I mean, look at that. That thing is just glorious. So this is obviously up here on the orange peel scale, but you can see here that this light has a very nice, very good hot spot, but the spill is also really even. So like one of the reasons why I like this light is because the spill basically from like here to here is super duper consistent. You get a hot spot, then you get this spill where you don't lose very much light at all from the start of the corona all the way out to the edge of the corona. This consistency allows you to do a lot of different work in the dark with this flashlight that you might not be able to do with another flashlight, because you just basically have, it's almost like there's two emitters. There's like this emitter, and then there's a bigger emitter around the outside. So let me show you the difference between this light and like another light where, and as you can see here, there is a huge difference between what the light is here and what the light is here. And in fact, there's like a hill, right? So this is the sort of the start of the corona. There's a little extra bright spot here, and then it sort of diffuses out. And in between the start and this little ring, there's a lot of variability in brightness. Now, the difference, of course, is that this light is custom made, and it's like $750, $650. This light is $60. So like, you're not going to get the same performance no matter what you do on this light as you do on this light, because this light is made by somebody who loves flashlights and who knows how to get the best performance possible without really any cost implications. Like, he knows that the people that are going to buy this light are not the kind of people that are worried about, you know, $10 more on a flashlight. So he just basically said, if cost is no object, what does the reflector look like? And that's what you get. You get this insanely beautiful, I mean, just absolutely beautiful beam pattern where, like I said, it's completely even out here. Nothing else even comes close. Like, let's show you the beam pattern on this light, and you can see there's like a ring. There's the end of the hot spot. There's a ring there, and then it just gets almost to nothing out here. Now, even if I balance it out so that you don't really see the, so I get rid of the angle of attack from the camera, it's still not anywhere near as even from the edge of the start of the corona to the end of the corona. Over and over again, you're going to see this. Very, very few lights are capable of producing the output that even this light, which is a really, really great light, you can't, it's not, you know, there's still some shape here. Now, part of that is because this is a triple, it has a triple emitter. So the closer you get on a triple emitter, the more distortion you're going to get. So, the battery died on this. Nothing produces anything close to what you get on the Haiku. It is still the benchmark for flashlight reflectors, in my opinion, and I don't think you're going to find anything that does it better than that. So that was my little Sweet Stuff Saturday discussion of flashlight emitters. Thanks for hanging in there. I know this was an extra long video, but I wanted to really break this down so that I could show my work and explain to you why I think emitters and beam patterns and reflectors matter. And I also wanted to explain to you why, even 15 years later, the Haiku is still the benchmark in this area for flashlights. And in fact, I still think it's probably the benchmark for flashlights. So thanks for hanging in there, and keep watching and keep reading the website.